I mean, it's building up into a real humdinger of a row. The whole issue around fishing, of course, has always been contentious. It was one of the last issues really to be settled in terms of the Brexit deal. It's not a massive economic issue in terms...
Usually symbolic.
But very, very symbolic. And it is proving to be now in practice as these licences are handed out. The French have been angry in terms of fishing in British waters anyway. 47 licences that were up for grabs and only 16 or so that were given to the French by the British. And then there's the issue as well around Jersey in particular and the territorial waters there with the licences that are up for grabs there, and the French say that they are being denied, their vessels are being denied licences to properly fish in that area. And as a result, you've got senior government ministers now in Paris threatening to do things like cutting the electricity supply off to the UK. It's not going to affect the mainland of the UK too much, but it will affect Jersey very significantly because 95% of Jersey's electricity comes in undersea cables from France. So they are pretty concerned about it. I spoke to their External Affairs Minister, Ian Gorst, a little earlier, and this is what he said about the threat to cut those electricity supplies.
Well, it's, as I've been saying, it's completely disproportionate. We're an island of 108,000 people. 95% of our electricity comes from France. Is it really appropriate to stop all power coming to Jersey, stopping power to our hospital, to our schools, for the sake of what is a very technical issue around evidence of previous fishing? So it's completely disproportionate. But we do have contingencies in place, and we'll continue to work on those contingencies with the support of the UK government. But I would say this: unilateral measures taken as proposed by France would, in our view, quite clearly be in breach of the trade deal. And therefore, we would be seeking to work within the trade deal, and France would be in breach of it. And that would be something that the EU would need to deal with.
Mark, just remind us, how do fishing licences work?
Well, under this trade deal that the Minister was talking about there, licences are granted to French vessels, for instance, if they can show that they have actually a history of already being economically dependent on the fishing waters around Jersey. So if they can show from the logbooks and the tracking data from all of their satellite sort of positioning systems within the vessel that, yes, they have in the last few years been in these waters and fishing away, then they will be granted a licence. And what the Minister says is that there's about 95 licences they've granted so far, or there's an interim granting of a licence. About 60 have been fully granted, another 30 they're waiting for a bit more in the way of information back from the French fishermen to confirm exactly that they've been in the waters. 75 vessels, though, have not been granted licences because they've not, for whatever reason, supplied any kind of information that they have indeed fished these waters before. And it is the belief of the government in Jersey that actually quite a few of these vessels are just trying it on and have never fished around Jersey's waters before, and they shouldn't be entitled to a licence.